Hi and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave and this is episode 1657A and today's date is September 6th, 2018, and the title of the episode is It's All Connected, Prepare for Everything and Anything. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, one thing we need to remember is that everything is connected, and once news comes out, a lot of things are going to change. Not right away, but things are going to change, and we can see that very soon there will be news that is going to come out. Now, for some it's going to be good, for others it's going to be bad. And this is going to affect everything. Anything and everything. It's all connected. And what we've been seeing right now is that the economy has been deteriorating for a very long time. We all know this. We've been following it for a very long time. We know the numbers have been manipulated. We know GDP, unemployment, you name it, all manipulated. Gold, silver, suppressed. Everything is manipulated here. And then all of a sudden, Trump comes into the picture. And the economy is doing better than it's ever done before. This is on purpose. This is part of the plan. Because what is happening here is Trump is making it look like everything is fantastic. Now, if there is news, if the Fed does raise the rates, which they are doing, and it brings down the economy, is he to blame? Yes, he took on the responsibility of the stock market, but if there is news that comes out and the economy implodes on itself or the stock market comes down, was that his fault? No. If the Fed raises rates and destroys the economy, is it his fault? No. This has been the plan all along, to make it look like, using the manipulation that the deep state has been using, the central banks have been using that manipulation to work against them. We know the economy is not good. We can't repair this economy. We can't reboot it. We can't make it better. The deep state, the central banks, they've moved our manufacturing out of this country. They set up terrible trade deals. The central bank, the Fed, has devalued the dollar since their inception. We've come off the gold standard. And the education system has gone down the drain. And this has an effect over time. And we can see right now the United States is just a shell. Yes, we have an army, a navy, we have the Marines, we have equipment. Do we have gold? We don't know. We don't know what the central bankers have done with it. And we have a Federal Reserve which is calling the shots in this country and destroying the country from their money printing. So the only way to get out of this is to bring the system down. Now, this can be done in many different ways. 1, blame it on the Fed. 2, have news come out and say, wow, the economy was doing well, and all of a sudden we have this news that certain individuals, they were traitors to the country. People are going to react to this. The market's going to fall. And we can see we're heading in this direction. If we start to look at these numbers, like jobless claims and all this stuff, we see they don't even make sense anymore. I mean, right now, jobless claims, they're down to 49-year lows. Now, why is this? Let's compare this to the 90s. GDP in the 90s was much stronger than today. Initial jobless claims had 9 years of recovery, and we see that in the 90s, going into the 2000, we had 300,000 jobs versus 210,000 jobs. That is, the current cycle is strong, but not as strong as the one in the 90s. But jobless claims have collapsed even lower. Why? It's not tied to the duration. It's not tied to GDP. What's the reason for all of this? It's manipulated. And we've been following this and tracking this. We know there's hundreds of millions of people out of work looking for work. We see the ADP employment growth has slowed to the weakest in 10 months. We see U.S. factory orders. They have tumbled. Now remember, a lot of the factory orders are dependent on the defense aircraft and parts spending. Well, that has declined. So have factory orders. They're down by 0.8% month on month. This is the biggest drop since January. What is happening behind the scenes here is that the economy is falling apart. It always has been falling apart. Nothing's changed. And we can see there's different analysts out there, and they have been warning that we're headed towards another bear market. Now, Barry Bannister, an analyst who predicted the February correction, warns that if the Fed raises the rates 2 more times to 2.9%, and we mentioned this before, if it hits around 3%, the economy completely falls apart. We know the Fed has said that they're going to raise the rates 2 more times, September, December. And when you look at what is happening here, we've seen this before. And if we go back in time, we can see every time the interest rates reached a certain point, all of a sudden we had a problem. Now, if you look at the effective Fed funds rate versus the neutral Fed funds rates, when they cross, that's when we enter a bear market. Everything just all of a sudden completely falls apart. We are almost there. And if they raise the rate 2 more times, the market's coming down. Now remember, all of this has been planned and set up from the beginning. And we can see from Trump saying, listen, I don't think the Fed should be raising rates right now, but they know best. They're doing it for the country. What he's really saying is, go ahead, raise the rates. We want the system to come down. We want to blame you. We also know that there's news that's going to hit the mainstream media, maybe not all at once. This is about FISA and other things that is going to affect the economy, the market. So right now, what Trump is doing is he's building the narrative, because now he has 2 different areas where he can point to when the system comes down. Now, if the news doesn't really budge the market, or nothing really happens because the mainstream media is really not reporting on it, and they're deflecting, they're changing the story or whatever, and people are rejecting it, and more news hasn't come out, he can always fall back on the Fed raising the rates. But what he's doing here is he's, not just him, those people in the background that are working with him, they're building a narrative for when this entire system comes down. And when it does come down, everyone needs to be ready and prepared, because this is going to be a complete and utter disaster. And it's not going to be easy for a lot of people. A lot of people who haven't been following or watching or understanding what is going on here, they're going to lose quite a bit, especially when the dollar falls to nothing. Because think about what is happening here. Once people start to figure out, and I'm talking about people in other countries and other governments, and they're going to lose faith in the dollar, especially if the corruption news comes out, where we had traitors and things like that. People are going to lose faith in this system, and that is going to bring the system down. Now, it might not happen the first time the news comes out, but as more and more comes out, well, guess what? It's very hard to pretend it doesn't exist, because when they're hauling people in and arresting them, you can't really pretend that it's not happening, because it is happening. Now, the wealthy, they already know the jig is up. And over the past 2 years, the wealthy have been preparing their bunkers, their other residents, and a lot of them have chose New Zealand. And New Zealand allows the wealthy to purchase residency there. And we see already that New Zealand allows to essentially buy the residency through investor visas, and the rich Americans have poured a fortune into the country, often by acquiring palatial estates. They set up runways. We talked about this before. Well, we see a lot more of them have done this. They know what's coming. They understand that what is about to happen here is that everything that the deep state, the central bankers have built up over the many, many years, it's all coming to an end. Now, we know that the deep state, the central bankers, are not going to be going quietly into the night. we know that they will fight back any way they possibly can, and we're already seeing this. When the system comes down, people are going to be very confused. They're not going to understand what's going on. They're not going to understand why it's happening, because they've been living in the Matrix. They've been living in an illusionary world where they believed everything that was told to them. That everything is great, everything's fantastic, the Fed's fantastic, nothing to see here, just keep doing what you're doing. And now their world is being turned upside down. And when this happens, people react in many different ways. Some people get angry. Some people hide in their house. They don't want to come out. They don't want to see people. And we're going to see many different things happen during this period. And I don't think we're that far off. And we're going to discuss this in the next report of how close we really are. And all I can say right now, for those people who haven't prepared, those people who haven't been ready for this, it's time to do it. And we're really running out of time, because we can see at this point that both narratives have been set up. They're ready to pull the plug. They're ready to let everyone know what really has been going on. We need to get out of this central banking system. This is the last part of it, where we discontinue the Federal Reserve. We cut off all the funds to these corrupt individuals. Without these funds, they cannot operate. Because remember, the Fed right now can print and print and print, and the government can say, you know something, we need this money for this program, which is really not going for that program, it's going for a covert operation or into someone's pockets, but they write it up and they borrow the money. When we have checks and balances, guess what? That all ends. And they know it. They know the time is ticking down. This is why we see all the resignations, and this is why we see people not seeking re-election and things like that, because they know when this entire system is taken down, the central bank is taken over, and there's no longer this free money. The game is over. And remember, Trump did say, I thought Powell was going to be this easy money Fed chairman. I guess I was wrong. He knew exactly what Powell was all about. He knew that he was just going to raise the interest rates. He knew by raising the interest rates, it would bring down the economy. Throw on top of that the news that's going to come out. So we can see already we're heading down this path, and everyone needs to be ready and prepared for what is coming, because it's coming a lot faster than I think people really realize. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared.